we are.
Okay. Oh, is this your new webcam?
Yes.
Okay.
I turned the saturation up because you couldn't really see the lights.
Okay.
And I did not buy lights like this for them to not be seen.
All right. So we are now recording. What's
Hi.
up?
Roll intro.
No. I mean, before we roll intro, we could just say we're gonna review the new Spider-Man movie. What is it called again?
No Way Home.
No Way Home. No Way Home. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that today. Now we can roll intro. We need to change.
Oh,
I'm
I
Rebecca.
did it right as you said we need.
And I'm Deanna. And we're the Halfwit Sisters.
And we're back. Hi.
Finishing what I was saying. We need to change our intro again. Going into this new year, I think it's fun whenever we change our intro for the next year.
We should probably re-record too, because the first intro we ever had is the same audio for this intro.
It is. We just changed the animation.
I thought the bouncy balls was great.
Showing off your animation skills.
Hey, I don't have a lot of them.
Hey, look, I did my little whatever I did title cards for us. What we need to change up our opening. Maybe we should get something like really professionally done or something.
We can look into it.
Yeah. Go to Fiverr. Find something.
Pretty sure I wanted to do that the first time, and then we just never did.
Yeah, yeah. Um, we'll think of something. That will also because I want to change it from saying lesbian to putting gender fluid on our thing on my thing.
Okay.
That would be fun. I think that would be fun. Speaking of which, these last few weeks have been super hard for me.
Yeah?
Yeah, well, they've had me working with different teachers and different classes these last 2 weeks before going into
The holidays.
the Christmas break. Yeah, Christmas break. And so not everybody like knows or has fully gotten it. So there's been a couple of teachers that cannot remember my name and they just be going, Miss, Miss. And I'm just like, no.
Not today.
Yeah, and I can't keep like correcting everybody. It's one of those things where you like have to pick your battles.
Yeah.
In other words, you just get exhausted because they call you Miss so often. You can't like Easton, 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 right? You just sound like a broken record. Can't do it constantly. So you kind of like have to pick and choose when you're going to do it. And so I usually pick when the kids are like being rowdy and they're trying to be like, "But Miss," and I go, "Easton." Just Easton, right?
Yeah. I mean, that kind of works because it's like a shock of like, oh. So it like gets their attention because you're reprimanding
Bad
them
hair day.
and
Yeah.
correcting them at the exact same time.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Bad hair day. It stays on. So yeah, so these last 2 weeks have been kind of hard because they had, and then like the very last day, they put me in with pre-K. I got home and I was exhausted. You have to have so much energy working with like grade levels lower than fourth grade. Like second and lower, you have to be hyped,
Yeah.
hyped to the max. As a substitute, I feel like, because I don't think the regular teachers are as hyped as I feel like I have to be in order to keep up with the kids and keep their attention so that they will do as I say. I don't think that the regular teachers have to do that. But
I
me, I'm like,
I swear the regular elementary teachers probably have some like magic spell they weave that like keeps the kids calm.
Uh, well, by the time you get in there, sure they do. Um, but it is what it is. Anyways, that's not what we're here to talk about today. We are here to talk about the new
Spider-Man!
movie, which hit theaters this weekend.
Yes.
I did something completely new this time around. I went and watched an open caption movie with Spider-Man, and it changed my movie going experience, let me tell you. I normally, when I'm here watching movies on like Netflix or Amazon Prime or even YouTube, I will try and put the subtitles on because I have a hard time hearing, especially when they're like whispering or like have low and the music is higher than the speaking. You get that bass in there, right? You can't hear anything because of the bass bouncing out. I can't hear anything, so I'll put on the subtitles just so that I know what the characters are saying and I can dissect it later on. So I was like, they have an open caption for watching it in movies. I can go to AMC and watch a movie with subtitles. Yeah, let's do this. And it was on like it was perfect. There were times where I was like, I actually want to know what these actors are saying. And so I'd pay attention to the subtitles, and then there was times where I could just focus on the action and just be happy with that. It was awesome. Absolutely awesome.
I'm not surprised that it's part of like being more inclusive, which I love. So like I saw that and I kind of wish our showing would have had subtitles. I spent half the movies glancing down at the bottom looking for subtitles because of course I saw it opening day. Like I saw it on the 16th, the day it opened, right after school. I went, picked Neil up at work, and we went to the movie theater, right? And of course, like, you go to the movies, people are going to be loud on opening day. That is like the day you go for that ambient experience of everyone's like, oh my god, at stuff. And it's fantastic. But I missed lines because everyone was so excited.
Yeah. I mean, there was definitely a clap because I went on Saturday, and there weren't that many people in the open caption one, and it was one showing for that, and it still had a lot of people clapping. Definitely me and I went and saw it with my roommate Gilbo, and we were like freaking out over that, over everything. So we're gonna give a warning right here because we are definitely a spoiler podcast. So if you don't want to be spoiled, then don't listen to this at all. We're gonna be
Come back later.
spoiling. Huh?
Come back later.
Come out, boy. Come back next episode when we play a game. The we're gonna be spoiling this a lot because there's so many moments where like the audience definitely was gonna lose their crap. And you gotta remember that Spider-Man is a Sony franchise. The movie Spider-Man is a Sony franchise. Sony owns the rights. Sum it up. Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man, the movie franchise.
Yeah, and his
so they were going to
menagerie
be able
of villains.
Yeah, and they were going to be able to do everything that they were able to do in this movie. I'm going to do one thing with my drink because I want to. I'll be right back.
Okay. While she's doing that, I will talk briefly about like the legality of how Spider-Man is in the MCU. And this is simply that it is on loan to Marvel, to Disney. And that was one of the big things of like when they decided they wanted to bring Spider-Man into Marvel. They tried to obtain the rights, but they had been sold years previously because at one point Marvel was going bankrupt, and so they sold off the rights to certain characters. That's why the X-Men were sold to Fox and had, of course, been recently reacquired. Fantastic Four was the same way, where they were sold to Fox and acquired it during that merge. But Spider-Man and his menagerie of villains, including Venom, Doc Ock, Green Goblin, and Electro, and all those menagerie of all those villains, they all are part of Sony and their licensing rights. So to get Spider-Man into MCU, they brokered a deal. It's why sometimes you'll hear news of like, oh, Spider-Man's not in the MCU anymore because there's like legal battles. And I love that a Spider-Man is in the MCU, but I also love that Sony is not letting go of that property because of, Disney having all the potential properties.
Money! They're not letting go of that Spider-Man property because it is bringing them in the most money they have ever seen.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm glad, like, hold on to it as long as you can, because let's not let Disney own everything. They already own Fox,
yeah. I mean,
and Disney and all those other properties, Star Wars, and so I'm good with them not owning Spider-Man and getting the collaboration that we get to see between the Sony Spider-Man pictures and the Marvel Spider-Man pictures.
Yep. Totally agree. 100% agree. By the way, which mic is this using?
You're good, Mike.
Okay, cool. Double check it. Yes, 100% agree with what they have going on there. What they have going on. So let's talk about Spider-Man Far Away from Home. No, Far Away from Home?
No Way Home.
Okay. Let's get a synopsis. With Spider-Man's identity now revealed, our friendly neighborhood web-slinger is unmasked and no longer able to separate his normal life as Peter Parker from the high stakes of being a hero. When Parker asks for help from Doctor Strange, the stakes become even more dangerous, forcing him to discover what it truly means to be Spider-Man. So what they don't say in here is that because he goes in there and his identity is revealed. So he goes in to Doctor Strange and he's like, yo, dude, help me use a spell to show everybody I'm not Spider-Man. And during that whole time that Doctor Strange is putting the spell together, Peter keeps changing the parameters of the spell, which causes the spell to go out of control. And Doctor Strange has just shut down the spell. But in the process of shutting down that spell, he doesn't shut it down quick enough. So Peter, anybody that knows Peter Parker starts coming through. The villains start coming through, and that's why we start getting Doc Ock, Norman Osborn, the Sandman. We got who else? Electro. Then we also got the Lizard Doctor. And there's one more.
Technically, that's it. That's 5.
Oh, okay. I thought we got 6.
Yes, technically we did get 6. But also Venom.
Oh, yeah.
It was a mid-credit scene. Which, I guess let's start with that because it was kind of a throwaway. At the end of Venom, in that post-credit scene, Venom and... what's his name?
Ed Hardy.
Get Tom Hardy is the actor.
Eddie is what it is. I'm mixing the two. Whatever. Eddie.
Eddie get transported to the MCU universe, and apparently spends the entirety of the movie in Mexico talking to a bartender, trying to get everything straight. Like getting the full story of everything that's happened. And then he's like, okay, so I should probably go talk to this Peter Parker. And then he gets sent back to his universe. So we get Venom, but we don't really get Venom.
Yeah, I felt like that was a super throwaway. I didn't like it. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't like the post credit because they also left behind like a piece of Venom. And I was like, that's such garbage. That's so
Yeah.
garbage.
Yeah. I think
They
it
could
was
do
just a
better,
setup. It was
honestly.
just a setup to get the symbiote into the MCU.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, that's such garbage. Like, we've already had Spider-Man go to space.
He's already fought aliens.
Like, come on. That's such we can do better. We can bring a Venom whatever here. What the heck, you guys? Don't give me some garbage multi-spatial whatever bullshit. What's that sound? Sounded
Uh,
like something was vibrating.
no.
I don't know. Anyways,
But yeah.
so
So
yeah, so that
technically we did get 6, but really we only got 5.
okay. Okay. Um so we have so these two things so these villains start coming through the rift because created by that spell. Uh so let's talk about I think let's talk first about Peter Parker. Then let's talk about the villains and then we'll talk about the reveal of the others. And um go from there. What do you think?
Okay.
Okay, so how do we feel about Peter Parker in this rendition?
I'm really enjoying Tom Holland's portrayal of Spider-Man and Peter Parker. You're getting the whippy one-liners, you're getting the amazing acrobatics. He's best of both. And in
Mm-hmm.
this one, you can really tell he is a teen struggling.
Yeah.
And he's not thinking all of his decisions through because like Doctor Strange said, you could have just appealed it. Cuz they
Right. He's like, it's such a throwaway that he does. It feels like a throwaway line. He's like, look, you called them, you tried to get it reversed. And he's like, I tried what?
and this is
You tried to get it
reference
reversed.
to him, Ned, and MJ not getting into MIT because
Actually
of
not getting into any of their
yeah,
colleges.
um, because of the whole Spider-Man issue. Becca, your camera froze,
Just keep going.
and now it's gone.
Yeah, I turned my camera off.
Okay. Oh God, that makes this weird. Okay, there we go. You're back. Okay. But yeah, so they have basically a montage of the rejection letters, all because Spider-Man has been revealed and as Peter Parker, and there's this whole thing of like, oh, he's a menace to society. Um,
He also killed Mysterio, the greatest
yeah,
hero in all the world. Yeah.
which that whole resolution just like he proves his case, but it's never shown how he proves that he didn't kill Mysterio and why he's let go of that. That entire story line jumped over.
Well, he never does, actually. He never proves his case to the rest of the world. He proves it the
Court.
only to the lady, but he never proves it to the rest of the world. He never does. He just his entire identity gets erased as Peter Parker, and that's the conclusion.
No, Becca.
Mis-
He like we got nothing as in like, hey, Matt Murdock shows up, is his lawyer. Your problems are solved. Like, how did he not get arrested for murder? That part was never
oh,
shown.
oh, yeah,
It's just
yeah. No,
completely bypassed.
they. Yeah. Okay, now I get what you're talking about. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So those were some of the reveals we were going to talk about. We'll just get into that. So, like that was an so we have some of the reveals, which is like Matt Murdock is in there, which tells us that the Daredevil from Netflix set in this Spider-Man's universe.
Or at least his doppelganger is a part of the MCU. Because we still haven't gotten
Yeah.
word on officially if Netflix Marvel is MCU.
And so this Murdoch is in there. So played by the same actor from the Netflix series, which was super awesome because they could have definitely gone the way of DC and recast them like they did with the Flash in their Justice League movie. And I'm so happy they didn't. They're
Yeah.
like, why bother when we have such amazing talent and the fans actually like this dude? Like, why bother?
Yeah. And that reveal in theaters was hilarious. Like everyone was like screaming. All of the reveals, everyone in the theater was screaming. So that's not surprising, but that was an amusing scene to watch, especially when he catches the brick that gets thrown through the window.
Oh yeah, how did you do that? I'm just a really good lawyer. What was so yeah, so the opening their gosh, I was about to say what is their conflict? I've been working with for fourth graders too much. One of the problems we have most in this is like they set up is like he's trying to get into college. He and his friends are trying to get into college and he sees the effect of just people he loves socializing or being a part of his life and what that means for them. And that's very important because it leads to his final decision later on at the very end of the film.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that in a bit. So he sees what it means to do that. And it leads to him having that very funny moment of talking with Doctor Strange, where after he's been rejected by not just his backup schools, but his dream school too of going to MIT, uh, that he goes to Doctor Strange and he's like, yo, could you please do this? And then the spell ultimately failing. And Doctor Strange is just like, you tried to get in. You might have tried to
You tried to
reverse your
appeal
appeal,
it.
and that didn't work. And he's like, I did what now? He's like, you tried to appeal it, right? And he goes, what?
You can do
You
that?
can do that. You know that, right? He's like, wait, you mean I can't? And he's like, did you just have me try to like make everybody forget and you didn't even try to appeal? He's like, I didn't even know that was a thing. And here's the thing. Here's something that I really, really love about that scene. When you're applying for college, you don't know that you can do that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things about college, like applying for colleges in the real world, you don't know that you can do.
Yeah. A
Right?
lot of
Some
that stuff
people
is
think
not
like,
talked about.
yeah, and so like seeing him go, wait, seeing him go, no, I thought you just applied for college and they reject you and that's kind of it. There's so many people that think like that.
Yeah.
Think like that. Like one thing that people don't know is that if you don't get in to your college on a sports scholarship, you can try to be a walk-on. You can try to do a walk-on. Get in as a walk-on. It doesn't because they'll have tryouts at the school, and you can try to do it that way. Get into college doing walk-on tryouts that way. Like that's an actual thing that is possible. You don't have to just get a scholarship right off the bat.
Yeah.
So like these things aren't talked about because of the way both like schools portray scholarships and getting into college, and also how we portray uh, getting into college in general just in the media. So it was really refreshing to see that as kind of like his conundrum. Like I didn't know even know that could be done.
Yeah.
So that leads us to the very funny scene of him like trying to find the person, and also us seeing the effects of not having his access to Stark anymore, Stark's mainframe, because that was the thing he had in the last one. He could see that everywhere from the last movie. So this was the change from the last movie. He doesn't have access to it anymore.
Yeah. And so the spell gets botched, and you start getting basically fragments coming through of people who know Peter Parker, and that Spider-Man is Peter Parker specifically. And so he goes off to appeal his decision because the emissions lady is on her way to the airport. He finds this out and he's like, "Oh, I can catch up to her." So he goes, tries to catch up to her, and that's when we see Doc Ock.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was such a gorgeous reveal too. Such a
Yes.
gorgeous reveal. I watched so I'll put it down in the description. There's a whole thing about there's a channel called Fact Fiend, and they did this thing about Doc Ock and the guy who plays Doc Ock, and how he ultimately led to the whole changing of Doc Ock's character, and how the character is portrayed in the second movie of the original Spider-Man trilogy,
Okay. Haven't
which is
seen it.
so good. Oh, yeah, I will send it to you so you can see. But pretty much, he went and read up on Doc Ock. Like you'll hear about this all the time. Actors will get a role in a comic book and then they'll go and read up on the role of it. And that's exactly what he did. And what he noticed is that Doc Ock likes to be very chatty and snarky with Spider-Man, and also that he understands that Spider-Man will always try to rescue people first. And that's why you always see Doc Ock flinging cars full of people. So that scene where you see him like pick up a car and throw it, it's a car full of a family. Throw it at Peter. Like Peter is not is will stop an entire fight scene to go rescue, right? That family. Right. So he knows that this is a whole thing, and that's why Doc Ock does it. And he's kind of one of the only few villains that really purposely puts civilians in danger.
That's cool. But so I
Yeah.
one of the things about his reveal, I remember there were some theories that the multiverses were merging, and that's why like you see Doc Ock's tentacles change into that red, those red tentacles. So glad that was not the thing, and it was hilarious because it was just him having taken some of the nanotech from Spidey's suit,
Mm-hmm.
and it being revealed that this is not his Peter Parker, and then the
Yeah.
suit Bluetoothing to
Yeah. Yeah. That was good. That was good.
yeah. So
Uh,
then you get Green Goblin coming in
Norman Osborn. Mm-hmm.
briefly, and then Doctor Strange pulls them all, and we get more information about what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's time to Scooby
How do
Doo this
you
shit.
so we really also start seeing a lot of MJ and Peter Parker's relationship at this point. How do you think that is? How do you feel that is?
I like the progression. It's a very innocent teen romance thing, but also MJ changed a lot between films.
Okay, what do you mean?
In just like her character design in the first film, she was that kind of rough looking, not like rough looking, but like tired, haggard looking character,
Mm-hmm.
who was snarky. To in the second film, she's a little bit more like put together, and then this film she's very pretty and put together. So her character changed a lot as they made
Mm-hmm.
it more apparent that she is the love interest. They made her more appealing to the eye, I think.
All right, does that bother you?
A little, yeah. Um, it's a little frustrating to see that because they that tends to happen a lot where if a character, especially a female character, is not originally the love interest, she eventually goes through some kind of makeover.
Beautification.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can understand that. Um,
But Zendaya does a great job of playing her. She's a great character. She never gets damseled in the same purposely damseled in the same way other female leads have get undamseled.
mm-hmm.
When she gets damseled, she's actively trying to help and is helping.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh I'm never good with the romance side of things because like, that's not my part of the movies. I did like the way that they were showing the relationship. That was good because it uh gave I hate it though because it also gave it's part of Peter's purpose for why he's doing a lot of the things that he's doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of hate that because when you use women as like the purpose for a man's reason to do things, it's like, geez, come on. It leans back on that phrase behind every great man is a woman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, come on. Um, but overall, like they had it. I think what they were saying. I can't remember. I'll have to find the interview later. But there was an interview where he was talking. Tom Holland was talking about what kind of research he had to do, and he was assigned to watch a whole bunch of American coming of age flicks. And one of the ones that he was assigned was Ferris Bueller's Days Off.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, I can kind of see that. So I think they pulled a lot of those teen romances from those old movies, and I can definitely see that in that teen innocent romance things. Yeah.
Um, but so let's quickly get into some more of the reveal of the others because yes, we get revealed of the villains, and Sandman helps Parker trap Electro, and they all get
Yeah.
put into the wizard dungeon.
Yeah. How did you feel? Let's talk about each we talked about Octavius's reveal, which was really like I think he was the most high action reveal outside of Electro.
Sorry, give me a
How
sec,
did
Becca.
hmm
Um, your camera, and it's obviously you're not doing anything on your end, and I don't know why, but it's pissing me off today. Every 2 seconds, your camera just jumps around, and I don't know why, and it's pissing me off because I'm sitting here constantly readjusting it.
I don't know what to tell you.
I do not know why. I'm wondering. I swear if that was the fix that I've been looking for the last 10 minutes. Sorry. I literally every 2 seconds when you watch this back, you will see your camera just like flip somewhere.
Hey, she's over there. She's over here. She's over there.
It's big, it's small, it's. Nope, that's not.
You can just leave it and let it do what it does.
Yep. I will have to figure that out later.
Just leave it. Let it do what it does.
Every 2 fucking seconds, it's doing something.
Mhm.
So, the villains.
Right. So Octavius was definitely one of the more high action reveals. We didn't even get to see. I would love there to be. You remember when they used to release like 3-minute films that came out with the
The one
other
shots, the Marvel one shots.
yeah, remember those?
Yes.
I would love for there to be a Marvel one shot of just Doctor Strange fighting the lizard monster.
Yes. Because when we get the lizard man in the it, his reveal, he's already captured.
Yeah, he is. He is. Um, which I think is, and we see that Doctor Strange is kind of fucked up from it too.
To go fight a lizard man in the sewers, and he was not expecting that.
Yeah, yeah, and so I kind of want to see that. Um, how did you feel about Jamie Foxx this movie?
I like that they gave him his not blue skin. The character design was better this time. Um, I enjoyed it. It wasn't like a serious like he didn't play a completely new Electrode. He really was just the same Electrode. Just hey, I'm normal now. I look normal now, and I have this power. And then of course he feels the arc reactor's power nearby when comes in contact with that. And is like, I want that because
Mm-hmm.
every energy is just delicious to him, and the arc reactor is gonna be
He's also every villain has a snark to him, right? Or a chatty feature to him. And they do give him this kind of man, what do they call it? They give him in where Octavius is snarky, right? And chatty, they make Electro seem more street smart. Does that make sense?
yes, which is funny because it was mentioned in when they're all captured, and Peter decides he doesn't want to just send them back, he wants to help them, which is the
Mm-hmm.
where we are. Each of them are they're all snarky, but they're all snarky in their own individual ways. They're not the same snark across the board. They each
Mm-hmm.
have their own issues that they have to work through that Peter wants to help them with, that he can see like, hey, if we can heal this thing, we can send them back and they can have a better life.
Mm-hmm.
And so none of them are like I said, they're not the same snark, which is great.
Right. Norman Osborn. How did you feel about him this time around?
Ooh, I liked his performance. I knew when they got to the apartment to help them that Osborn was no longer in control.
Mm-hmm.
But that slow build of like Peter's spidey senses going off, and it just like being like, oh yeah, he's helping, but he's just helping to take out the competition for right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That whole fight through that building with Norman, that really showed like how strong the Green Goblin is. Because I don't think we really I probably have to watch back the last time we saw the Green Goblin, because I don't think we ever really got to see how truly strong the Green Goblin was compared to Spidey.
We did. I think we did.
But not in the same sense of like this. Like he
Yeah.
was throwing him through walls, pile driving him through entire floors. Like he
Yeah.
went through 3 floors with him at one point.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that I think maybe in that last fight where Norman dies in the original trilogy.
Hmm.
But yeah, we'd have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, he. And we also. Okay, so we see all of this. We have all this. Let's talk about it. Aunt May's demise.
She got Uncle Ben.
She did.
She said the line and she got Uncle Ben. But it really did show how much she believed in what she was saying, which was
Hmm.
nice. And the fact that she knew she was completely outmatched and how much she loved Peter, that she was not going to leave him.
The other thing is they really showed shock. Like what a body does when it's in shock. She didn't even realize she was hurt or
No.
how badly she was hurt.
She was up for a minute until her body literally could not stand anymore.
Yep. Oh, and that whole scene of just like you and me, and it's like we didn't even like, yeah, we've seen Uncle Ben died like twice in the other movies, but there was something about watching May die that made her death hurt so much more than the other Uncle Ben deaths.
Yeah, because
That,
it was Peter sitting there saying, "This was wrong. We should have just sent them back."
mm-hmm,
Against everything that he believes and stands for. And
mm-hmm.
she sits there as the counterpoint of, no, we did good. All of this, we were doing it for the right reason.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a fan on your desk?
No. I don't have anything on my...
There's something that's rattling on your end.
It could be the heater. The heater's right next door.
Oh, okay.
Until I get a little eye to go over this to block that out. That's how my audio is.
Okay. Fine. Keep going. We're having some. My camera's dancing around. You got sounds in the background. We're good. Let's go.
But so it was heart-wrenching to see her die.
And I think that's the other thing is because we've seen her through 4 different movies at this point,
Yeah.
right? So we've had the longest relationship as an audience. We've had the longest relationship with her.
Yeah.
And so seeing her die was a lot more heart-wrenching
And it's Aunt
than
May. Like,
having.
you expect Uncle Ben to die.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is like we know Uncle Ben's gonna die, and we have that for like 15. So and he's like dead in the first 15 minutes of the movie.
If that.
You know, like here's his what do they call it? Inciting incident, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the inciting incident. And for a lot of like Tobey Maguire, that was his inciting incident for Spider-Man. Like why he became Spider-Man was because of Uncle Ben. Garfield's it was sort of the same thing, right? Like Uncle Ben dies and he goes and does the thing.
And then Aunt May dies. And we get the realization that Aunt May is all Peter has left. He doesn't have his parents. He doesn't have Stark anymore. He doesn't have... Happy's never really, like, been a fan of his. He's just...
Not until the end of the first, not until the end of the last one,
Yeah.
right? And so, and that was kind of the thing. That was the development of what Happy could have been, right? Happy was going to be something important to him as well. And what do we get at the beginning of this
They broke
when
up.
he's being revealed? The breakup. The breakup was happening between Happy and Happy.
And then
Right?
just like, and it's briefly touched at the very end, right before Strange does this big final spell, that even Strange cares for Peter Parker, because he says like, we remember you.
Yeah.
Well, there it is.
Everybody who's ever cared about you, we won't remember you, is what he
Yeah.
pretty much says.
And he includes himself in that, and you can kind of see he's kind of heartbroken about that, because again, this kid's gone to space with him. He's helped him. They both got dusted for 5 years. They fought Thanos together. They've been through some shit. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is the end.
Yeah.
So there's this whole thing, right? And okay, so let's talk about bringing it. So you were mentioning the beginning of this, how Sony, right? This is a Sony property. Spider-Man has been Sony property. So it didn't really surprise me to have Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in this film.
No.
Didn't surprise me
That was
at
the
all.
rumor going around since they first announced it, that the multiverse was happening, and everyone was like, "Oh, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, they're going to be in the next one." It was not
Yeah,
a
it didn't.
surprise.
If they didn't, even if they didn't bring him in, I would have been more surprised if they didn't bring him in.
Yeah. I was ready for that surprise. Didn't get it.
Yeah.
We actually got them.
What I liked is how they show them in different points of their career. Like Tobey Maguire is clearly further along in his career as Spider-Man, right? Which was nice to know. Andrew Garfield was like in the middle of was like the intersection of where their two are,
Yeah.
right? So he was like at a midpoint in the Spider-Man career, and then Toby,
And
Tom
Tom Holland.
Holland's Spider-Man is still towards the beginning of the classic Spider-Man career, right?
Yeah.
And so that was really nice to like learn,
Yeah.
to see the three in like where they are in the Spider-Man career timeline.
Yeah. And you really do. So Aunt May dies, and that's when he's on Tom Holland. We're gonna start referring to them by the actor's name.
Yeah.
Tom Holland is on the roof of his school building, and MJ and Ned bring Toby and Andrew to him, and of course Tom is like, you don't understand.
Before we get to that point, let's first talk about how they bring them in.
Ned Magic. I want to see.
Yeah.
I want Peter Parker.
Come on, Peter Parker. There was that fight between we didn't even talk about the fight between Doctor Strange and Peter Parker.
We don't have time to. There's like 12 minutes left of this episode.
Oh my god, that was such an awesome fight. And how he looked around and he's like, "Wait, the Mirrorverse?" How Tom Holland's
Archimedes
character is
something.
is geometry? He's like, "You're great with geometry." That was so funny. That was so great.
This movie
And he
had a
caught
lot
him
of those moments where
in a
it's just like,
spider web. My favorite part about that whole thing, the way that they end it, he literally caught Doctor Strange in a spider web. Like a fly. Shoe fly, don't bother me.
we got
Like
trapped
a
in the
fly.
Mirrorverse for 12 hours.
Over the Grand Canyon for 12 hours. I'm just thinking, you're supposed to be the Sorcerer Supreme.
No, remember, he's not. He lost it on technicality.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That is right. Wong is now the Sorcerer Supreme because of a blip.
He got flipped.
That's right. That's right. And so that's how Ned ends up with that little thing. And so he's like, "Bring me Peter Parker. Bring me Peter Parker." And the first one they find is Garfield. Uh, and he's like, "Okay, I get that you're a deeply mistrusting person, and I respect that." This is so great. And he's like, "Click," hanging from the ceiling, and she's like, "Okay, okay, crawl around." He's like, "I'm not gonna crawl around. No, crawl around, crawl around."
He crawls around.
Right? But my favorite thing about it is like Garfield was running around as a Spider-Man. And it was like, how have we not heard the entire time? Like there's another Spider-Man running around this entire time. And then you have Tobey Maguire who's like in casual street clothes and he's like, yeah, I'm just kind of like looking for your friend. And it's like such a genius thing that he's like walking around in normal street clothes just hoping he's gonna run
Someone.
the yeah, he and like nobody's recognizing him and he's not Hackfield who's like, yeah, I'm just running around and like he's right
In
like
his suit. Yeah.
oh my god, it is so funny. And then but I think my favorite part of the interaction between all three of them is when they reveal that Tobey Maguire's character makes his own spider fluid.
Andrew Garfield's face after he does that is utter disgust. The shock and disgust on his face.
It was so good. They're like, here's your web fluids, and he's like, why? Right? Like Tobey Maguire's absolute confusion to all of it was just like, why? He's like,
Yeah, because
they're like,
Tom Holland
"Whoa."
goes to like hand him one of him. Is like, here, you can borrow mine. I don't need a what? Oh.
Right. Okay. So let's quickly wrap this up. So we get to the ending, and all three Spider-Mans have to work together, and of course they're like bumbling the fuck out of this. The two of them are like Garfield and
I thought
like
you were Spider-Man number 2.
yeah, Garfield and Maguire are like, we've never worked in a team. And Holland is like, well, I have. I've been a part of the Avengers. And they're like, that's so amazing. What's the Avengers?
Who?
He's like, it's what? Earth Mighty's hero? Huh? Right? And that was
It's
just
not
like,
important.
yeah, yeah. And so like they go into the whole thing and they finally work together and they're curing everybody, right? At that point, we've already have a cure for Doc Ock who shows up and does his thing.
Yeah.
Which was great. They cure the Sandman and everybody. And then we get to that very end and we have the fight between Green Goblin and Holland. And that is the point where we actually see Spider-Man no longer holding back because he punches a fucking hole in that shield.
Yeah. He is done. He is angry. He is hurt. He's everything. And Green Goblin is the reason for it.
Yep.
And so he does not hold back. He's almost going to kill him when Toby steps in and is like, you can't kill him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And so, and then of course, Garfield at the end is like, you are in so much pain. And McGuire's like, yeah.
After getting stabbed.
It's okay. I've been stabbed before. Oh, good. Okay.
But
So-
yeah, there were a lot of little moments of just like their tiny interactions when Garfield cracked McGuire's back.
Oh yeah.
Those scenes, the subtle interactions when Holland is in their apartment with all of the villains trying to cure them, those subtle interactions between all of them was just so good.
Yeah.
Because they're not fighting. So what do? Stand there awkwardly? No, they make small talk.
Mm-hmm. Small talk. Oh yeah, when he talks about when Elektra is talking to Sandman, and he's like, "Yeah, I fell into a vat of electric eels," and the other guy's like, "I fell into a super collider." Man, yeah, falling is a bad job.
Oh, it's just those subtle moments were really, really brilliant in this. I loved those. The only one I didn't understand was like when they were in the dungeon and Osborn offers to help because he's a doctor. He's a doctorate. All of them freaking have doctorates except for Sandman. They're all scientists. They just don't want to be helped.
But Well, so
Yeah.
like the idea there was that Norman, that was to show like the innocence between Norman and Green Goblin. Right?
Yeah.
That was the whole point of that scene.
Yeah.
I'm somewhat of a, scientist myself. I could definitely help. Right? That was the whole point of that thing. And the idea that because the others have been changed by what they've done to themselves, that they don't have the capacity to even want to change. That was
Yeah.
the idea. Um, okay, so talking about the ending, which is how about we make it so that nobody remembers me, right? And that leads to our final, because we mentioned at the beginning, um, he he comes to understand, Holland's character comes to understand the impact that he has on others people's life, which leads to his final decision. When he makes that decision, make it so that nobody remembers that I'm ever Peter Parker, right?
That no one remembers Peter Parker, period.
Yeah, Peter Parker, period. So he goes to the coffee shop that Mary J
MJ
was at,
Wackets.
and
Michelle.
he's like, because he had made a promise at the very end of the fight that he told them, he's like, you guys are gonna forget me. And they're like, no, we don't want to forget you. And he's like, don't worry, I'll come find you. Right. And I'll tell you everything. And so he goes to the coffee shop to fulfill that promise. And he sees the bandage on her eyebrow and his friend. And he learns that they got into MIT like they wanted and all these things. And that's what life is like when he's not in it and how good
Yeah.
it is. And I was like, and that was like the flip. Um, and the final thing they show at that end is that he's finally coming into what we believe and know of Spider-Man, which is living in a one-room apartment, listening to the police scanners, broke as all get out. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really
Knowing
sad
his own
because
costumes.
he no longer has Stark Tech, so he has to go back to the spandex, and it's kind of really sad because his entire life, it's not just like, oh, everyone will forget I'm Spider-Man. It's everyone literally forgets who Peter Parker was. His entire existence is erased to save his universe.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Parker is he's no longer graduating high school. He has to get a GED, and
Yep.
they show his GED, and
Or him getting the books to do a GED. They didn't show his
yeah,
GED. His books to
yeah,
get a GED.
the to study to get the GED, and it's just like so heartbreaking, and it's just like I can't tell my friends that we were friends. I can't put them in that danger again,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just so sad.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So, so it's going to be interesting to see whether or not they come back to like his life where it's at, or if this is like the kind of end of what they're going to do with the Tom Holland trilogy. Yeah.
I've heard rumors either way that this would be the last one, or that no, we'll still have more Peter Parker and Spider Man. So I'm interested to see where we go. It'd be cool if we got like a mini series with him.
Mm-hmm. Well, Tom Holland himself has come out and said, I want to take a break from acting.
Yeah,
So
because he's been in a lot recently.
he's got the
He's
Uncharted movie
another.
coming out soon.
Yeah, he's got that movie coming out and being a part of the MCU, and the stress of being that because he spoils everything.
He's always got to be with at least 2 or 3 people now to keep him from saying shit.
Some of the interviews that I've seen, he keeps looking back at Benedict Cumberbatch and being like, "See, I'm doing good. I'm not spoiling anything." And Benedict's just like, "Mm-hmm. Keep going. You're good."
Poor guy. Poor guy.
I at some point I think all of his interviews were like with Benedict Cumberbatch, so that Benedict Cumberbatch could just like stop him from spoiling stuff.
Poor guy.
Because I think with Infinity War and Endgame, Benedict Cumberbatch was the only one who had the full script
Mm-hmm.
because he had to know. And I know during those interviews he was with Tom Holland going, nope, you can't talk about that.
Poor guy. Poor guy. So, well, that's so okay. So, how do you feel about this particular Spider of all the Spider-Man movies we've watched? Where would you place this in
It
your
is.
like where my new rings?
I would place it top. It really does. I can't get over the slow moments between action. They were just so well crafted
Mm-hmm.
and really allowed the character to shine outside of battle. So we got to interact with the characters more, and I loved that. Um, the original trilogy just went downhill at one point. It's it's hard to talk about that. I loved Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. And I was sad we didn't get more of those, but then we got the Tom Holland ones and this one to round out his trilogy. Getting to see everyone else come back at least one last time. Top tier.
Okay. What would you give it?
Full wit.
Okay. Okay.
I can't think. Maybe upon another reviewing that I will probably do week after next, um, I'll find things that I just did not like, but I I liked it.
Okay. Okay. I would probably I would okay. So I think my favorite Spider-Man is still Tom Holland's first Homecoming with the
Mm-hmm.
Vulture. I just that one was just super well crafted as like an introduction to a Spider-Man, mostly because they didn't bog it down with like all of the classic. Here's his reveal and stuff, and they had that the goggles that they came out. Right? I like that. I like that stuff. And really I did. So I would place Homecoming as kind of like one of my tops. This one would definitely fall within my top five, though. And there's not a whole lot of them, so there's not.
There's
There's the
only 8.
there's three, then there's the two, and then there's the three of this one.
There's
So
8.
yeah, so it's
There's
in my
8
top
solo
five.
Spider-Man films.
Yep, it's in my top five. The two Andrew Garfield's are always going to be in like my tops. In my top three because there's a lot of things that he did as the spider, like his wit as Spider-Man was always really good, and his characterization of Peter Parker was also really good. So that's why it's almost always in my top like two. So that's why. Um, I would probably give this a uh 3/4, which is pretty high.
Yeah.
3/4. I think what I didn't like about this is probably the Venom reveal. I didn't like the Venom reveal. That was that was one big one. I know it's a post-credit thing, but that was one big one. I felt like that was a cop out. You can do better. You've done better. Why cop out?
Yeah.
Right? That was one thing. Uh there was another thing. I can't remember exactly what it was that I was just kind of like, it's okay. I think you could have done better though on it. Um, I can't remember entirely, but they had so many things they had to do with this film that not everything was going to be top notch.
Yeah.
There were something. Oh, okay, yeah. No, this was what I didn't like. I actually did not like that Ned was the one that pulled the Parkers together. I didn't like that. I felt it was a cop out, but they had so many things going on. What else could they do to bring all three Peter Parkers together? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I can't think of a good fix for it other than that they did that, right? And the joke was at one point, he's like, I have. Ned was talking to Doctor Strange. She's like, I think I'm magic and I have things in my, and he's like, go see a doctor, right? And then I was like, "Ugh, they're gonna make him play. They're gonna give him some role with some magic later on, right? Like that was gonna happen. Why mention it if it wasn't gonna be used later on in the film? And which they did. I still felt like it was kind of like a cop out sort of thing. So that's kind of where I am on that. But it was still pretty good. So 3/4.
Okay, cool. Well, those are our thoughts. There's a lot that happened, subtle and not so subtle, in that movie, that we could talk about. But honestly, go watch it.
Mm. Oh, and on December 24th, Encanto is going to be on Disney Plus. So if you didn't get a chance to watch it, you
Yes.
can go watch it. I'm definitely going to be watching a second showing with subtitles so I can actually know.
I have the week after next off because in New York we have work right up, and like the 24th is our first day off. So I might the week of the 27th go back to theaters and watch both of these in theaters again, because it's so good, both of them.
Wow. That's where we're at. If, give us your thoughts about what you think. If you got a chance to watch this Spider-Man No Way Home, give us your thoughts down in the comment section below. Tell us what you're excited for coming up, and let us know if you're watching Hawkeye. There's some interesting things happening in Hawkeye as well, and we plan to do a review on that once the series is completed. Other than that,
Yes.
you all have a great holiday, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
You know what to do.
Like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you're notified of all our videos. And also, this comes out on the 24th, so Merry Christmas if that's what you celebrate. And go watch Encanto now. Bye.
Bye.